Time for the serious lecture now, huh? It's very simple. Basically, the whole project is somewhat a project, I would say, more in my territory. You can understand how my mind sets in here. When there's a competition about this, and I would figure, how do you make a judge what is a good project in here? But I think that's okay, because also what I thought was important is also this is the first week meeting among the groups. That the first part of it is actually what things do you guys find common in each other through the work. I'm working on this one project right now. It's called the Ecstasies of Influences, a curatorial experiment. And this is a project I'm working with a philosopher and a writer named Lucas Farais. I never met him. I only met him on the internet. We Skype to each other. He's a very important young writer. He writes about architecture, and he's written about 16 books so far. And his mother is also a very important figure in architecture. She's one of the jury for the Pritzker Prize, but she's also not an architect. So this project that we're doing right now, we're interested about idea of like basically influential figures. What are they influenced by? And what are the things that they collect? What are the things, objects, what are the things that becomes an important part? For me, I would say that maybe the book of Rossi is a very important book, even though it has no physical value, but I feel like it's a book that I always ask myself again and again. So this project that we're going to do is for the Shenzhen Biennial. And I was talking about possibly if this project, with you guys working together, if that could be also included part of this, one part of the exhibition from it. And then when we talked about it, I think we share some excitement because I think this type of workshop is also trying to develop a project where a practitioner working on a current project, thinking is trying to resolve things in a larger public knowledge, but also put it into an academic forum. And so the students also start to engage in this kind of discussions in here. So I'm gonna talk about the couple influence. This stuff will be available to you, will be accessible, so you don't feel like you need to always constantly photograph because it's not a good resolutions into what's shown. Ecstasy of Influences, this particular text, which we kind of edited, is a text about plagiarism, about copies. It's about plagiarism as a positive and negative within the culture. Sometimes you do ink painting, you copy and transcribe it, it's because you want to pay respect to the person who's done it before. And our relationship or copyrights also become, architecture is one that's very difficult to create copyrights because we only do once. If we make a duplicates, then the copyrights becomes very curiously interesting in that room. I taught a class about copy cultures, and one of the things, when I taught my first day of class, Apple just reserved a copyright of an elevation view, perspective elevation. That one drawing that creates the copyrights that you cannot copy this. And it's quite strategic because the drawing is not descriptive, it's about layout. You have the one main big table, two side tables. There was only a diagram to show that you cannot copy that. So what's curious is that the fact this text is not about the idea of copy as ethical things, but also looking at the larger culture. Where does it come in? Where does it come through? I refer to Rossi, but many might say I might copy or plagiarize, but it's the fact that how I take in within our own text here. It's sort of complicated. I will provide you 3 texts that you will use it to talk and discuss within the group. This is called the Ecstasy of Influence. It's by Jonathan Letton, and this is a text that I'll provide to you. The text is for your leisure reading. And I have also another text which I also thought might be really important. It's a work by Italo Calvino. I think all architects read Calvino's Invisible Cities. It's run in text, but what I was interested about this is called the Sixth Memo for the Next Millennium, because Calvino wrote this for the Harvard lecture. He actually never delivered the lecture. He passed away. And the book of the cover, it says 6 memos, but inside there's only 5 chapters. So the last chapter he didn't finish. And this particular book here, these particular texts you refer to, I would just, depending how you want to grapple it, but it's also depending how your things are selected. Some of the images that could be quite influential. This image it's called Cabinet of Curiosities. This is a very important image. It's about how you, within your very small room, you collect all the entities that describes your formal language in that cases. And this is another one. It's called Studio Lolo. It was painted in the early Renaissance. Basically, it's a room within the room. And the rooms, just like the preview, it starts to a room that you can kind of completely devoid out of it. You can find these images, and there's probably written text about it. You could use this as reference. When I taught in Hangzhou, this is the things I work with some students. I asked the students want to collect smells of the city, but how do you document that? That was a question. So she photographed all the faces that react to the smell, and there's 4 people, 1, 2, 3, 4. So depending which angle you can look at. This is the tomatoes that you saw, and this is the collection of object nights. And this is a collage of fragments. How stones became rubbles, or rubbles became sand. This is a good start. Monsignor Tunon, an architect, built these container box. And within those container box, they're all magazines. Right? They're all different journals inside. Exhibit work. So you'd be asked to construct, one of the early part of the semester, well, the first couple of days, you were asked to construct literally the physical box here, while also thinking about the project of collections. The cure of direction is very formulated. It's a bit more prescribed, mainly because the amount of work is not so great. So there's a lot of editing to get inside the box. What I don't have right now is actually I have an image in here. Maybe I could try to maybe open up. Is that there is a requirement what the images, the plan should be. And I'll show you later. Some of the collages I would like to do, I want to show you some references of the collages to think about what type of mediated collages rather than one that you created through renderings. Yeah, this is William Kendridge. This is Christo. Part of the work you start to assemble, the work could also mimic the work that you see on those walls. This was my thesis students from Hong Kong University a couple years ago. Last year, I also took my first year student, architecture student from Hong Kong University, 70 students, came to Taiwan. We visited Tainan. And most of the students never been to Tainan. So they did the project for the site. So they made models, ideas about what this area is. So they brought it with them, opened it, and they had an exchange with the students from Chengkong University, Donghai, and also Sichuan to communicate exactly what the city of Taiwan, and they made a proposal, opened it, and made a description. This is before they saw the site. What's really funny was that all the students, they built the model twice as big as what the size of the Tainan, because they only measure everything by Google Maps, because we didn't have any information. And so when they built it, they came to the site, they realized it's not 2-story buildings, it's only 1-story buildings. So their world was actually much bigger, because they said they're not used to seeing low structure, but in Hong Kong everything is really tall. So they said, and I thought this was a curious thing, is that they arrived and realized there was something different between what they thought and what they see. So this is some form of fabric. I'm trying to see if I can get the PDF so that. So the plan of the room could be organized in that way. We could have options. It's also dependent, because I actually, when we came in, we just measure thinking that certain things could fit, but less we could improvise. But each year you're gonna actually build a border box to contain your work. So in other words, last year when I saw your comment on the Facebook page, you said, how can somebody put this plywood or this images up there? I said, I have a way to control it. It's to make sure this thing cannot fall down. So you'll be asked to submit very few images. So you have to be very clear and selective. So you were asked to submit a collage, an axonometric, a plan, a model, and this table right here. This table is actually all your object collections, what you described. And the projects you could propose is a gallery, a museum, a science lab, whatever in that cases. It could be an architectural proposal at the scale that you want, but you have to also decide the scale that's proper, right? So you could all 14 projects submit a different scale, but the project is most important is exactly what you collect that describe the city and how you communicate a very important part of the objects. So this is kind of building a project without a site. So that means that is the project strong enough? It could be in any site. So there's no site contents. It's about building the program within itself and is developing your own architectural form. There's a couple questions that will come up. I think this is we made a proposal either if the table should be high or could be low. That could be decided once what you think is actually appropriate. My feeling is always nice lower so you can actually see the specimen. So then, whatever the student collect, it could be a point where we could organize something by organizations. Maybe you could do by perishable objects, non-perishable objects, natural objects, or unnatural. There's a lot of conversation, not within your full group, but also within the whole larger entity of the class. There'll be a lot of discussions going on, and I thought this particular project is also very suited for students coming from different backgrounds, because those are the materials that brings into architecture. So basically, at the end, we could actually build a whole entire miniature museum. Group from different schools to come and see the object and specimens, and you make a proposal. You could make a proposal for cities without a city, just only buildings, and the scales that you can determine. There'll be a couple of things I require you guys to do. I mean, all your drawing have to be black and white, no colors. It has to be line drawings, and it has to be driven in certain ways, and some of your models have to be constructed in white. So I want to also make a comparison. This way we can compare what is a strong form compared to what is a weak shape. So it'll be a dialogue within it. And yeah, so this will be the given projects. It's definitely much more clear than what you're seeing here. It's not as mysterious on the projections. It's relatively evident. This type of competition is very common. It's not a type of architecture competition. It's idea projects. Something like Shinken Shiku or Central Glass competition is very well-known architecture competition in Japan, where they just 100 word and a brief, and there's no format here. So I wonder if you guys have any questions.
有没有什么问题？还是全部都是问题？
I think the no it's
问中文也没关系啊，有问题就问。我相信是应该是全部都是问题。
Then I must done a good job destabilizing all of you. Yeah, third topic. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a title is always good. Yeah. It's referred as a miniature rooms. This is good. Oh yeah. Yeah, I have a one. Yeah. And also I was going to mention that also one of our guest critics, one of the three confirmed is Ran Qinyi, who will be one of the guest critics. Yeah. Ran Qinyi.
Ran Qinyi.
They look puzzled. Like who? He's an architect who I curate the exhibition with together.
他会是下个礼拜五的评审之一，清月老师。
Then we also have two. You don't have to ask me. I'm going to be around. If you want to approach me, it's better. I think you probably have more questions. You don't want to ask. You feel like is it stupid questions? But if you have any questions, come and approach me. I should be here for a little bit.
There's no stupid question. There's only question.
Stupid question is a brave question that nobody answers. Yes.
所以要在这个框架里面做什么？
Yeah.
要在里面，你问的问题是什么？要在里面做什么？
对吧？就是我们要除了钉木框之后，然后画画，那内容是研究一个城市吗？还是研究一个场域，或是那个对象，那个对象是什么？
Well, his question is that it has to be contained, right, within it.
好问题，这个就是让你这14天要想的事，里面是什么？
Yeah. So in other words, you cannot go beyond the boundary. It has to be contained within it. The medium is very explicit. You have to do one collage. One of the frame has to be collage. 3 of the frame has to be models, and 1 has to be plan. 1 has to be a section. And yes.
所以那个方向是在那个3个 keyword 上面。
大声一点，大声一点。
那个3个方向是那3个 keyword 吗？是经过在那3个 keyword 上面说。
Oh, the autobiography, the fragments, and the forgetting. Those are the reference. You don't have to answer to that. Yeah.
其 前面是Thomas 曾老师的演讲，后面是他出的题目，不见得要有绝对关系啊。这个不是标准答案问题 ，OK， 不见得要有关系，他只是在讲他最近在思考的事情。来，
可以 clarify 一下什么是 topic， 然后什么是 restrict， 然后什么是 就是那个桌子跟图面就是 only restrict we have。
对，这个是 only restriction.
And the only topic we have is
You're free. It's up to you. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything else is for us.
Yeah. Okay. Everything I put, I'll make this accessible in Google. You can get the link. All a very important part of the ingredient, right? It's a very important part of the ingredient. So there's no shape there. There's a lot of form. And I gave you certain images, and they're very specific what I'm looking for. And you could get a sense of that a couple of things within it. Is a culture of collecting, and it's also a question of like how do you start to categorize things. Yeah.
So the fragment and the parts to the unit and unit to the part is that
That's something you will probably realize that you guys all units, or you guys all parts. Later when you show it together, you have a units, and it might be a couple more different units depending what's collected.
Whoa, that's hinting a bit too much.
Now they're actually funny. Now all the questions will come back to you now. What do you mean?
Andy， 大声一点。
Do you have any suggestion about how should we manage our schedule?
How do you manage schedule? Yeah, what I got a sense that the construction of the parts is part of the things you would do collectively. But then as a group, you start to have your own little battle of questions, you know? And you also start to realize somebody might even have a similar idea as you, right? Then you also start to realize what influence is that happening between it. My questions also come in. I'm also interested in looking at exactly what are the palette of ideas in this generations. What are you guys looking at? What are you guys listening to? What do you guys make you happy? What make you influence? What makes you upset? A lot of things comes here. I mean, Hong Kong 1 year ago, with the yacht umbrella, everybody wanted to do a thesis about umbrella movement. I was like, oh, right? They have the shape, but they have no forms, right? So that was a question that came out. It's because it was a very hot topic to do. It's kind of like a thesis question to you guys as well, because you might flip the newspaper, check out the newspaper. What's the con topic? You build a project for that. Like you want to do a memorial project for a backup or something. This is the question also comes in when you guys, the beginning, there's no any influences. Where does the influence come from in here? And I think a lot of you have some baggage. When you meet together, those things will come out here. I would say it's a curatorial experiment in that case, to see exactly what are kind of things to review. I mean, what are the most important debate in your life right now? The question comes in. What is the most important within, if you are an architect with 0 year or 20 years experience, what are the most things important you want to talk about here? So naming doing this part of it is also naming exactly what are the issues. And also having a great idea is not that, you have to also figure out how to convert that.
Exactly. Thomas, you were talking about the umbrella movement and how it has a shape and no form, right? So figuring out the thing that means most of them and how to convert it into form is something they have to think about when they collecting things.
Yeah.
And make the loop version out.
At the end, the output, what I asked is actually very architectural, but I didn't exactly specify exactly what that form is. I mean, basically a building maybe doesn't have a site, but also hoping the idea is that it's potentially to ask this question. I could be an architect, not only work in Taiwan, I also could work in Switzerland. How do I observe what is their issues in there? Several years ago, last year ago, I saw this French architect. They were building the airport number 3 in Beijing. And their proposal was that the airplane comes down and you see the airport, the new airport, which is designed by this architect from France. They were shaped like a phoenix. My feeling is that I'm in trouble. How many phoenix do we need? How many airport of phoenix with birds? They shaped like birds. What happened if a Chinese architect designed an airport in Paris? Would it be a shape of croissant? So that's my question that comes in. Exactly what our kind of visual and material culture that comes in is actually, you know, do we need more phoenix dragons and, you know, scholar rocks or topography mountains that comes here? But as you realize, the more it's subject to this kind of general thing, I don't think the success for the project comes in. Right? So what you start to collect is a very important part of it. Think about it, it's just like the beginning of entering into competition. You only have 3 weeks to do it. You have 2 weeks to design, you have to figure out what the concept is.
Could you explain more about the difference between form and shape?
You can. So, yeah, this is really hard. Yeah. So if I explain it, then you figure, oh, I know the answer for it. Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah. This is great. I think form is it's like many layers, a bit complicated. It's a bit complex in terms of there's forms that are generated by technology, by the materials and the size of it and the time and the everything. Shape could be only just exist only with an image.
音乐有没有风？
Profile something.
文学有没有风？
Yeah.
Does Somo's piece on shape and form work in your context?
I haven't read that. Yeah, it's like Robert Somo.
Yes. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Fine.
Are you guys lost? Then I did. He said, if you can get them still lost, you did a good job.
Yeah, no, exactly.
还有没有问题？刚刚其实都是很好的问题，
Yeah.
拿出来题都是很好的。还有问题？ OK，
Yeah.
如果没有问题啊，我们再一次谢谢曾老师。下一次就是下礼拜五，他会带2位到3位评审来我们这边。下礼拜五。
下礼拜。那个中文跟英文之间的差异。
OK， 下礼拜五就是马上的。好，那个我想今天总共有10来天，你们赶快分组，有任何问题可以互相讨论，需要来问我们这些老师也没关系。可是千万，我们老师都不是给你们任何标准答案，只要有答案可能都是错的，所以问很多问题是对的。有没有听到答案？这个千万不要认为别人回应你的就是答案，那这很重要。可是你可以问很多刚刚问的这些所有的问题。那我们再过来紧接着就是下一位。我们开始除了刚刚 competition 以外。